Hi, my name is Neil Demery and I am your reading writer. In the last video we read chapter 3 and just a little recap. Spring and Bridget were brought before the council and all the mermaids were in attendance. It was quite an event and we found out a few things. We found out about Tara, who is the High Elder. We saw a little bit of her. Also, we found out, we met Ronalda, who's the head of the lower council, and we also found out something very interesting, that these mermaids, you know, none of them are going to be pushed around. We saw with Ada and Pearl that, you know, you're not going to lead them anywhere, you're not going to control them, and they're going to say what they're going to say. And everybody is, you know, was pretty much in agreement with it. So without further ado, we're going to now read chapter 4 of Visions of a Watering Eye. The only thing special about Tara's quarters was that she had them all to herself. The small space was anything but ornate, and it was furnished with a small table surrounded by 4 chairs and a raised area for sleeping. The room of this size normally was shared by 2 to 4 mermaids, depending upon their status. But a space such as this was quite sufficient, as most mermaids used their room for sleep or possibly a quiet place to reflect. They wore no clothing. They had few possessions, so storage space wasn't necessary. Some of the sea women did adorn themselves with simple handmade jewelry, primarily of shells, coral, or bone, for which only a small box was required. As Tara put up her trident and gathered her thoughts, Bridget and Spring waited outside of the door. Tara's quarters and the armory were the only spaces within the battery to have doors. The one on Tara's quarter was of thin metal, which is procured from a shipwreck. And when her entry arch did not accommodate the door, the arch was enlarged to do so. When Tara was finally ready, she spoke to the mermaids. You may now enter, ladies. Bridget and Spring entered the room with eyes opened wide, indicating that they couldn't believe where they were. Tara opened the conversation. Sit down, please. We have much to discuss. Yes, High Elder, they both parroted in unison. Let us please dispense with formal titles. I am Tara and nothing more. I would first like to tell you both that your behavior before the council was exemplary. You handled the situation with intelligence and grace. The 2 mermaids once again answered in unison. Thank you, Tara. Suddenly there was a knock at the door, to which Tara responded. You may enter. The door opened and in swam Ronalda. Yes, Ronalda, what do you require? Ronalda's response was given in an overly formal manner. I won't take up a moment of your time. Would you please be so gracious as to grant me an audience, High Elder? Of course, Ronalda. Do you wish that the younglings granted some privacy? That won't be necessary. I am sure that what I am about to say will soon be public knowledge. Well then, please continue, Ronalda. Ronalda cleared her throat and straightened herself to her full height before continuing. I wish you to know that I am stepping down as head of the council, effective immediately. Tara was somewhat taken aback by this blunt pronouncement. Do you mean you wish to give up your tenure and take a lower elder chair? No, I mean that I am retiring from the council. I feel that after today's fiasco, my status has been diminished to the point that I can no longer be effective as a council member. Tara took a deep breath and smiled warmly. Ronalda, please sit for a moment. Ronalda complied with the request. Over the seasons, you have served the mermaids effectively as well as selflessly. I am aware that for you to take this action is well within your right, but I ask you to reconsider. We are entering a period in our history where experienced leadership will be vital. In fact, our future will depend on it. I, as all of the elders, rely greatly on your sage advice. We have been friends for a long time, Ronalda, and I am now asking you, as my friend and trusted confidant, to stay on as leader of the council and most importantly, to continue as my chief advisor. Ronalda stared at the table, not wanting to raise her head. I just don't know, Tara. Ronalda, please consider it. The mermaids need you now more than ever. Ronalda rose and prepared to leave. I will consider your words, Tara. Your confidence in me means a lot. If it pleases, I will now take my leave. With this, Ronalda left the room. Do you really think she will step down? Bridget asked. Ronalda likes being in charge, and she is very good at it. Her pride was damaged, but I believe that she will come around. She has a good heart, but it is difficult to see through the hard shell that she wears. We will need her in the days to come, but enough of this matter for now. Mermaid Spring, you have served your charge well, and other than topping the ridge, I could find no fault in your actions. However, a token punishment must be served. You will spend every other day until further notice studying treaty law. The other days I am turning you over to Satina for training in tactics and weapons. Your duties as Bridget's teacher are now at an end. Spring loved to study and was relieved at the sentence. Oh, thank you, Tara. Mind you treaty lessons well, as I believe you will teach this subject in the future. Go now, child, and report to Satina. Yes, Tara, and thank you again. Spring then rose and swam from the room, but was stopped as Tara spoke again. Spring, you are no longer a child or youngling, and you will never be called such again. Spring's face beamed with delight as she finally left the room. Tara now turned her attention to Bridget. As she gently grabbed her hand, she stared into her face intently. Mermaid Bridget, this is a conversation that every high elder since Dracos had dreamed of having. Do you have any idea why you are with me here now? Bridget's eyes were shining brightly, but they held a slight glimmer of fear, the first such glimmer Tara had ever detected in the young mermaid. I doubt that it is to pronounce token punishment for my discretion. Tara's look was very serious. You doubt correctly, young one. I am sure you have been aware of all of the talk surrounding you since your arrival. Well, I have heard, but paid little attention to it until today. Tara let go of Bridget's hand and slowly swam to the corner of the room before speaking. That is probably just as well. Every mermaid is deserving of some sort of childhood, which is carefree and filled with wonder. Unfortunately, your childhood was very brief, and as of today, it has come to an end. I must now ask you some questions, and I wish you to be sure of your answers before responding. Yes, Tara, Bridget responded. Tara then turned and spoke. All mermaids who have risen to a position of power retain some memories of their dry life. I myself recall a time when I walked on legs and danced in garments of blue. I recall smells and visions of my mother. I can see bits and pieces of other things, but they are incomplete. Most of the elders have similar memories. Today, when you were being questioned, you spoke of a room and of lying on a slab. Do you think you know what that means? Tara could see that Bridget was troubled by the thought, and more than that, she knew the answer. I believe that these were past life events leading up to my death. Tara's voice was related to sincere intensity. You actually remember your death? Yes, I believe so. I have memories of my crossing and transformation as well. Tara could not believe what she was hearing. To my knowledge, no one has ever had recall of these things. A moment passed. Do you know of the prophecy of Angus? Yes, Tara. Where did you first hear of it? From Daniel. Tara's head snapped around. Did you say Daniel? Yes, Tara, although I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Daniel and I were talking, and he asked me questions, such as you are now. He asked if I had memories of my dry life, and that if I knew of the staff, the wheel, and the slab, Tara could hardly breathe. He asked you just as you said it, in those exact words. And then he said, if I was the one, I would soon know it. Tara started swimming back and forth across the room as she spoke her thoughts out loud. How could he know of the prophecy? Someone must have told him. Did he say anything else? Oh, yes, Tara. He indicated, though not directly, that he had spies in the mermaid camp. He said that I should be aware to whom I talked, as I would never know when I might be talking to him. Suddenly there was anger in Tara's voice. Spies. I had feared this, but I did not want to believe it, and that it could actually be so. If this is fact, then why would he tip you off? With no forethought, Bridget answered, to instill fear in us. Tara turned quickly. What do you mean by that? Bridget spoke with a knowing confidence of one more experienced with life. I think that Daniel wants us to believe that there are spies in the population. If there really are, I don't know. I believe it is a device meant to loosen the bonds that we feel for one another. When we go into battle, we must have a total trust with those we fight beside. Without that trust, we are less cohesive, hence less effective. Tara took the thought and ran with it. Yes, of course. Something such as this could even create infighting. It is a type of psychological warfare. Daniel is devious as well as clever, but it still doesn't mean that there are spies in the battery. How else could he have found out about you? Have you told anyone else this? Only Spring. The wheels in Tara's head were turning furiously now. After we adjourn, go to Spring and see that she keeps these spy talk to herself. I must also inform Miranda to seal off the battery. No one but mermaids must come and go. How long did it take for you to reason all of this out? I gave it no prior thought. It just came to me now, and it all makes such sense. Why else would Daniel have let me live? Tara was once again staring intently at Bridget. Remarkable. For one your age, your powers of observation and reasoning, they're truly unique. There's something else, Bridget said quietly. Tara motioned for her to go on. It's about the prophecy. I don't think that it's unique to the race of Dracos. Why could not a prophecy which foreshadows a universal ruler or a one just be that? Universal. Tara was listening with great intent. Well, please go on. Well, you see, all of the sea races have their seers and prophets. If this prophecy sees one ruler for all, then why would not all have such a prophecy? Would that not explain why the sharks are so bent on our destruction? A light went on in Tara's mind. Yes. Yes, it would. I have often wondered why the clan is so intent on having this area for their own. It has nothing to do with the location. They desire our destruction, so the prophecy cannot be fulfilled. Can all of this be true? It all seems so clear that I don't understand why I didn't see it before. Bridget, do you have any clues about the other key parts of the prophecy? Do you have any idea how the staff, the wheel, might relate to you? Bridget's voice took on a distant note as she stared at the wall. They had flashed through my mind. Her voice started to take on a dreamlike quality as she talked as a thought, as she talked as if it was without thought. Bridget seemed to be staring at this little ship's wheel, which was the only adornment on Tara's walls. It had been procured from a shipwreck when she was a youngling, and she had no idea why she kept it. I have seen a girl who sits in a chair, and the chair sits on wheels. Bridget was now concentrating on one of the spokes within the ship's wheel. I see the girl again, but she is younger now, and her glass contains less pain. As she walks, she leans heavily on a piece of wood. I don't think she will walk without this piece of wood. I should know this girl, but her look is not clear enough for me to tell. This was enough for Tara. Bridget had now seen all the key ingredients, the staff, the wheel, and the slab. She was convinced that Bridget was the one, and the question presently in Tara's mind was, what now? What does one do with a prophecy come to life? As advanced as Bridget might be, it was obvious that she wasn't ready to be High Elder, let alone the universal ruler of the seas. What if Bridget's idea of the prophecy being known to all races was true? Tara knew that there were more than just Daniel's clan that had no desire to be under the jurist of a mermaid, and there would be others, some mermaids included, who wouldn't believe that Bridget was the one, regardless. Thought after thought raced through Tara's brain, each presenting its own set of scenarios, along with its own set of problems. Bridget's voice brought her back to the room. It happened again, didn't it? What do you mean, child? When I see the pictures in my mind, I'm totally swept away by them. During these times, I have no sense of the real world, only the pictures before me. This time I saw a girl, but I didn't know who she was. You know the girl, Bridget, Tara said. You've already put everything together. Bridget turned away before talking. I suppose I have. It seems as though my dry life wasn't an easy one. There was a word describing the way I was, but I don't know what it is. It's the same as Mermaid Lorraine and the way her back is malformed. I was malformed, and the ailment progressed throughout my life, up until my death. I believe that this life is reward for enduring that one. I am so sorry that you not only had to live that life, but that you had to remember it now, Tara responded. Push it away for the time being, child. For now, there are things that we must do.